What is happening, Internet fam? So this is a special PSA edition of Rise Masternode News. I'm not actually going to talk with Grandpa JJ or future Rye or past Rye or further past Rye or get into all the outfits that I have hanging in here in my studio or any of that. But I did want to talk about crypto a little bit because we are at all-time highs again for the fourth or fifth day in a row, sixth day in a row. It is crazy. Bitcoin has been flirting with $27,000 all day today. Currently, right now, it's at 26,741, and it was quite a bit closer to 27,000 just a little while ago. So Bitcoin is on a meteoric rise for the end of the year. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, we had that big run up at the end of 2017, it peaked in 2018 and then crashed way back down, eventually going from 20,000 all the way back down to 3,200. And so some people are saying, okay, so what if we get to 30,000 this year, and then is it going to have that same retracement? Well, I looked at the chart and I did the math on that. And if you look at this run up here, you'll see this run up here looks very similar to this run up here. Although we're not quite peaked out yet. So if it does that same run up that we saw at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, this year, my guess is we're going to hit at least 30,000 at some point in early January, if not sooner. The meteoric rise this is an unprecedented bull run. So if that's the case, going from 20,000 to 3,200 is that's a 6.25x. Or 6.25 divided, I guess, by then X rather. If we do the same 6.25 divided by if you buy a Bitcoin at 30,000, that's saying it will get back down to a low of 4,800. Now, some people are looking at this chart and thinking that might be the case because, hey, look at this, and then, hey, look over here. It's like, very similar. Maybe, but I don't think so. I don't think so because there's a lot of things different now at 26K than were true at 20K 2 years ago. And most of this money now being pumped into Bitcoin is from giant investment firms, giant investment banks, people really looking to get into Bitcoin and hold it long term. We are seeing an unprecedented rise in scarcity for Bitcoin, which is what has led to this almost $27,000 price as of the day after Christmas 2020. Now, do I think the rise will just keep going and never retrace? I don't know. I really don't know. I think that where we're at now in the overall crypto market has broken all previous models. So there's actually no way to know right now what the future holds. That's always been true, but at least in the past, when you looked at the model, you could kind of look at something that had happened before, see what happens, see, and kind of postulate about what could happen again in the future. This time, there's no way of knowing that we're ever going to get back to a previous model. This model is very different than the previous models that we've had. This bull run is absolutely unprecedented. Over the last few days, Bitcoin has been gaining in value $1,000 every day. So if you own a Bitcoin, one Bitcoin, you've been making $1,000 a day this whole week. And there are several models that are suggesting that that may hold true for the remainder of this year on through to 2021. So if that's true, I'm going to put the video on pause and do some math real quick. If that is true, and we are looking at Bitcoin continuously gaining $1,000 in value every single day, well then, that means that we are looking at a Bitcoin at $395,000 this time next year. $395,000 this time next year. Is that possible? Is it plausible? I don't know. Like I said, generally I've done most of my price predictions based on previous cycles in the market. We are now at a situation where the previous cycles on the market no longer have any bearing because we are in a situation that is radically different than anywhere else we've ever been before. Bitcoin has finally surpassed all of the major financial tools. I think Visa is number one. Bitcoin just passed Visa. It already passed JP Morgan, PayPal, all these other financial service industry market cap totals. Bitcoin has demolished them all, and we are in uncharted territory. What this is called when we're in uncharted territory in the market terms is price discovery. And I don't believe that Bitcoin has even begun price discovery yet. It's only 10 years old, less than 12 years old, 11 and a half years old, something like that. And just now, giant investment banks, giant Wall Street people, investment firms, large private individuals are all just now getting into Bitcoin. So we don't know where we're headed, and we don't know, and where we've been is no indicator of where we could be headed right now. So this is crazy times. I just wanted to do a quick PSA and talk about the all-time high, what it means. A lot of people are FOMOing in right now, a lot of people. And generally, I would say that when a lot of people are FOMOing in, that's a bad time to get into the market, because all these people FOMOing in are going to elevate the price and make it artificially high. But I'm not sure that it's artificially high. I think that a lot of the people FOMOing in now are large investment firms and corporations and investors who are already millionaires, know what to do with money, and are FOMOing in because they see the scarcity going up radically for Bitcoin right now at the very end of 2020. And they may be right. And if they are all right, then that means the scarcity will only improve and increase for some time to come. Certainly, it seems like every single Bitcoin that hits the market right now is being bought immediately. I was looking at a bunch of RSI charts earlier, and it seems like Bitcoin is just being bought nonstop, which is how we got to 27K today, or very near 27K today. New all-time high. Now, the number one question that I get from friends, families, and other small local businesses that I support who might want to start getting into cryptocurrency, getting into Bitcoin, and thinking about their futures, either as a business, as a family, as an individual, whatever. The number one question I get is, how do I buy Bitcoin? How do I get Bitcoin? That's the number one question I get. It's always been the number one question I get. Now, there are ways to get Bitcoin that are kind of like the standard normal ways, and most of them are large, giant corporations that will sell you Bitcoin. Now, I want you to be very, very in tuned to what I'm about to tell you, because one of the things that I've learned in crypto is that if you don't hold your own crypto, if you don't have your own private keys that nobody else has, you don't have crypto. If it's on an exchange, if you bought it from one of these large corporate partners and they're holding it for you in their wallet, you don't own it. And it could evaporate immediately. In fact, in almost every case that I can think of, any kind of custodial service like that that's been holding crypto has in fact lost either all of their clients' money or most of their clients' money. So you have to hold the crypto yourself. This is a huge, huge technological barrier to entry for most people. It doesn't have to be. Things are getting easier. There are some tools now that make it a little bit easier. But the reality is most people are not holding their own crypto. They're buying it on Coinbase. They're buying it on Gemini. They're buying it on Binance, buying it on Kraken, something like that. And they're allowing an exchange to hold their crypto. I will tell you that every dollar of crypto that I've ever held on exchanges, whether they're decentralized or not, anything that's on an exchange, that's where I've got most of my losses. Most of my investments in crypto have made money, almost all of them. But I've had huge losses in crypto by having money on an exchange or another custodial service that then evaporated, exit scammed, had a hack, something catastrophic occurred, and I lost all of that money. That's happened to me on CryptoBridge, Cryptopia, BitConnect. You could look at it as a similar thing, kind of scam. All of these exchanges cannot be trusted. So even if you buy your crypto on Coinbase, Kraken, whatever, you need to pull the Bitcoin off and put it on your own personal wallet. Now, what does that mean and what does that look like? Well, let me tell you, it's very easy to get an Android phone and put the Exodus wallet on it. And it's very easy to take your money from Coinbase and put it on the Exodus wallet. So you can, in fact, buy crypto on Coinbase and withdraw it onto your own private Exodus wallet. But here's the thing. Is your phone an Android? Does it have the official stock Google Android on it? Or does it have an aftermarket third-party Android on it? Like one by Samsung or an open source one like Lineage OS. Because all of this makes a huge difference. Right now, 99.99% of the people I know are using Apple, Google, or Microsoft for most of their IT needs. They either have an Apple phone or a Google / Samsung / Motorola / HTC / Xiaomi, whatever. They've got some kind of private corporate phone, whether it's Apple, one of those other ones. And then for their desktop, they've either got Mac, an Apple MacBook or something like that, or a PC with Windows on it. 99.9% of the people that I know are running that kind of infrastructure. Now, here's the problem. You buy a Bitcoin say you buy a Bitcoin today for $27,000. You put that on a Google phone. Do you actually own your Bitcoin? Could Google just shut down your phone and lose your private keys, take your private keys, take your wallet, take your money? And are they going to be motivated to do so at 27 grand? Or are they going to be motivated to when it hits 100 grand or 50 grand or 200 grand or $1 million? Because I think that $1 million Bitcoin is definitely going to happen. Whether it happens in the next 12 months or the next 12 years, there's a debate there. I think probably 2 to 3 years, $1 million Bitcoin is very likely, personally, just looking at the market analytics myself. But if it's on a device that's owned by Google, owned by Apple, owned by Microsoft, owned by HTC, owned by Samsung, owned by Motorola, owned by Xiaomi, owned by any of these private corporations, if the operating system is running, that is designed and built by one of those companies, you do not own your private keys. Even if you've got an Access wallet with your private keys on there, you don't actually have the privacy that you need to actually own the crypto. And the other thing is too, a lot of governments stand to lose big time with the advent of Bitcoin. With the rise of Bitcoin, that's only going to help to erode the value of fiat currency, whether it's the US Federal Reserve note, whether it's the Chinese yuan, whether it's the euro, whether it's the peso, whether it's any of these other fiat government currencies. All of them are going to continue to drop in value in comparison to the Bitcoin because of the scarcity of Bitcoin. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and probably 5 to 6 million have already been lost already by people doing stupid stuff with USB drives, leaving it on some kind of exchange that got hacked, etc. So in reality, there's probably only 14 to 15 million Bitcoin that are out there in the market. And that's a high estimate. It's probably lower than that. My guess would be like 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. That's my honest guess. But I'm going to say, just to be conservative, that there's 15 to 16 million Bitcoin out there in the world, including what's still being possible to mine. And that means there's a huge scarcity for this asset. And with that scarcity comes value. And with that value comes a big fat target for criminals. And criminals aren't always just hackers and individuals who are going to attack you personally on a small town level. These criminals are more often giant governments and giant corporations. And as these giant governments begin to watch their fiat money just absolutely collapse because it has no value because they've been printing it nonstop, and that's all fiat, not just the US Federal Reserve note, it's the pound, that's the euro, that's literally everything. They've all been being printed willy-nilly in quantitative easing, right? Which is just printing more fake money. And so all of those currencies are going to drop. And as those currencies continue to drop in value, the governments are going to panic because they can't print enough money to make up for how much money they've already printed. You can't keep digging out of the hole and putting dirt back in the hole and expect that you're going to get anywhere. The hole is going to stay at the same level of depth the whole time, no matter how much you're digging out, because you're putting the sand right back in. And that's what's happening right now with fiat currency. And in fact, we're at the very beginnings of hyperinflation for most global fiat currencies. So, we're going to be at a situation where, already a loaf of bread, if you want to get a good loaf of good organic bread, it's $10 right now. A good loaf of organic bread is $10 in a lot of places. So, a $10 loaf of bread, when I was a little kid, a good loaf of bread was $1. So already we're seeing this huge inflation just over a few decades where everything's, 10 times as valuable as it was 30, 40 years ago. Now, it's not really 10 times as valuable. What's really happening is the dollar is 10 times less valuable. That's what's really happening here. And the adoption of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is going to accelerate that, dramatically accelerate that. So that's why I say, when I say there's going to be $1 million Bitcoin in 2 years, what I'm saying is a loaf of bread is going to be $100. And therefore, the Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million because the dollar is going to be worth way less. Now, yes, more people are going to be getting into it as the value continues to escalate. Yes, the scarcity is going to continue to grow. As more people know about it, as more people are looking to protect their assets and try to stay financially solvent, you're going to see more people desperately trying to get into Bitcoin, which is only going to drive the value up more and more and more, probably inexorably and inevitably from now on. Like I said, we are not on the previous model. We were in kind of like the early adopter stage. Even right now today, we're still like pre-early adopter stage. But we're getting towards that border between experimentalists and early adopters, where like people like doing crazy stuff that has never been done before. That's where we've been at for the last 12 years with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And now we're getting to the point where like mom is going, hey, that Bitcoin you told me about a couple of years ago, how do I get one of them? And as people who, were not as technologically savvy or hip to Bitcoin start to get in, you're going to see the price continue to go up. And also, you got to remember, the Federal Reserve is printing money more than it ever has in the history of the dollar. And generally, when a government starts desperately printing money, trying to stay ahead of that never-ending snake that's eating itself, it leads to hyperinflation and the collapse of the currency. And I think we're definitely heading there for all fiat reserve currencies, all of them. Now, there are other ways to hedge your money that could be a little bit more safe than holding fiat currency. That's silver, gold, actual assets, land, maybe. But I mean, land deeds are usually operated by the government. So if these governments get really desperate, they're going to start confiscating gold, silver, land, anything they can to stay afloat. Because as they keep printing the money and it begins collapsing, and as the entire global economy continues to crash because of COVID and Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and their 3.7 million bid to end all free markets globally, which is what I think COVID is, I think that you're going to see governments get really desperate and start confiscating actual assets from their citizenry. So even assets that are tangible that you can hold on to could actually be an actual danger to you and make you a target for those governments, for other people out in the streets starving, etc. So what is my advice overall then? Now, again, I don't give financial advice ever because I am not wealthy enough to give financial advice. First of all, I have not had enough success in any market to give financial advice. I have been a cryptocurrency enthusiast for a long time, and so far, the people that I've given cryptocurrency advice to have done very well for themselves. So I'll say that. However, I don't give financial advice, and I do not want to be legally liable for any of you making any kind of decisions based on what I'm about to tell you. Number one is, if you want to protect your wealth, protect your assets, the number one thing you have to do is get out of fiat currency by any and all means possible. Literally owning anything besides fiat currency is going to be a very wise decision within the next 12 months. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Secondly, any of those assets that you hold, you're going to have to protect. Now, in the case of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc., that means you're going to have to own your own keys, and that means you're going to have to own your own operating system on your own hardware. This is very important. You cannot own your own operating system on your own hardware if you're using Apple, Microsoft, or Google. Chromebook ain't going to do it. Windows ain't going to do it. Mac OS ain't going to do it. Android ain't going to do it. Samsung, HTC, all these other ones. You are going to have to install an open source operating system on hardware that you actually own. So that means you're going to have to find a nerd, figure out how to install Linux on a laptop, something. But to actually hold your own crypto, you're going to have to actually control your own operating system on your own hardware. Beyond that, you're going to have to be able to protect your own hardware from bad actors. There was a big ledger hack not that long ago, and all of the data was released on the dark web. So that means people know who bought a Ledger hardware wallet, and that could make you a target for home invasion other kind of robbery, etc. Because if they know that you've got a Ledger hardware wallet and they know you were buying Bitcoin back in 2013, and they think, hey, this dude or this lady or this family has, 20, 30, 40 Bitcoin over here, and they know where you live and they can come find you and try and get your hardware wallet, they could easily do so. They could come, they could find you, they could take somebody in your family hostage, they could demand that you give them the wallet and give them the passcode for the wallet, and they could take all of your Bitcoin like that. And a Bitcoin at 27,000, they could assume that you have 10 of them. That's $250,000. That makes you a pretty big target for bad actors. So anybody who bought a Ledger wallet, you should move and change your address. Sorry about that. Secondly, whether you bought a Ledger wallet, whether you're keeping an Exodus wallet on your own Linux laptop, etc., you are still going to have to protect yourself from somebody being able to steal your laptop or phone or wherever you're keeping that cryptocurrency. And that means you're going to have a backup of your 12 keys that only you know where it is. And you're also going to have to be able to protect you and your family physically from anybody trying to take your electronic hardware that might want to steal your Bitcoin. So that means owning a gun, owning ammunition, and knowing how to use the two. A lot of people don't like that idea, but it is what it is. The power of cryptocurrency is that you can take control of your own finances, your own money, and you can actually have your own wealth. You can literally be the one who's in charge of your own wealth. That's the power of cryptocurrency. The downside is that you're in charge of your own wealth, and so you have a responsibility to physically protect it, electronically protect it, i.e. by using an open source operating system that's not owned by a giant corporation, etc. So it is absolutely essential that you own your own hardware, your own operating system, and that you can physically protect it. It's a big responsibility, but if you want to protect any of your assets, you have to do this. There's really no other way. So yeah, buy a gun, learn how to use it, and learn how to install Linux onto a laptop, or learn how to install Lineage OS onto a mobile, something like that. Buy all open source hardware and all open source software. You can buy the Pine Book, you can buy the Pine Phone. Those are not only open source software, but open source hardware too. So if you really want to be safe, you're going to want to do something like that. Buy a Pine Book, wipe it, install your own operating system where you can check the MD5 sums on there. I mean, this is technical stuff, but that's the world we live in today. And if you want to protect your assets, this is what you got to do. If you're interested in any of this, I might start giving classes on how to do that. I've been helping a lot of individuals, investment firms. I'm an IT consultant. This is something that I do for people. If you want to hire me directly, hit me up in the comments. I might be able to help you out. I'm hireable. I'm always looking to make a little bit of money on the side, even from my regular job, etc. So, and if you want to pay me in Bitcoin, then I'm super interested. If I can get 0.01 Bitcoin an hour, I will do whatever you want pretty much. So there's that. Yeah, you've got to start getting educated on this stuff, and you've got to start taking responsibility for control of your own electronic devices, your own financial safety, your own financial welfare. If you have kids, the responsibility is even bigger. And if you have grandkids and kids, etc., then that's just, the farther out your family tree goes after you, the more responsibility you have to engage in this kind of learning, to learn how to secure your own wealth, secure your own finances, and really protect yourself from the cataclysm that we're already living in. I mean, this Fauci and Bill Gates led pandemic, it has already cost billions of people millions of dollars, billions of people billions of dollars. We're seeing the closure of small businesses globally. We're seeing the end of tourism in a lot of countries that relied heavily on tourism. We're seeing a lot of bad outcomes for all people. And one of the ways we can fight back is owning our own device, owning our own operating system, and securing all that with physical force, i.e. owning a gun, owning a house that's got, strong windows and walls and doors, in a location that you can protect. If you live on a hill in the middle of the country with a sniper rifle, chances are you're going to be a little bit better at protecting your Bitcoin than if you live in an apartment in downtown LA and don't own a gun. Let's be real. So that's the scenario we're in. I don't see the end of fiat currency crashing. I see that continuing to escalate and getting worse. I can't really imagine a scenario at this point where fiat currency will be salvageable. A lot of governments are going to try and come out with their own crypto, where they control your wallet, they control all of your assets. They can see every single transaction that's ever occurred, every purchase you've ever made, every dollar you've ever earned. They're going to be able to see all of it with their own government-backed crypto. That is, I believe, the end goal of this pandemic, is I think they want to chip you. They want to put a chip into your hand or somewhere else on your body, and they want that chip to say whether you've been vaccinated. That's going to be their excuse initially. And then later that chip's going to be in charge of all digital transactions with some kind of government cryptocurrency that's not a real cryptocurrency. Because when the government controls it, you think they're going to allow for the scarcity of Bitcoin, for example? No, they're not. It's going to be a digital currency they can keep printing, so they can keep running the printing press and running their own hyperinflation game. I believe that is the end goal of the governments and why they are doing this lockdown. I think that Bitcoin may have accelerated their plans to institute that kind of complete control of our financial system. I believe that's what's occurring now. The way that we can get out of it is we can not comply with any government edicts. We can say, hey, these are our inalienable basic human rights that you have no right to tell us whether we have to wear a mask, stay home, not run a small business. The government has no right to tell you any of those things. Despite what they say on television, despite what they say everywhere else, the government cannot issue edicts that violate your basic inalienable human rights. And so it's very important that all of us refuse to comply full stop with any more of these government edicts, all of these government edicts. And beyond that, it's also important to take control of your own financial future. I think you should have some gold and silver on hand, certainly some silver on hand. You can buy an ounce of silver right now for $25. That is a market that has been absolutely suppressed by corporations and governments for decades. Provably so. There were several lawsuits where they basically proved that the precious metal markets have been manipulated for decades now. And I think they even levied some fines against giant corporations and some of the people running them. But, you know, typical hand slap stuff, because government and corporations, they are the same. They are the right and left hand of the same body, basically. So they're never going to give each other a hand slap that really hurts. But I think, yeah, you should own a little bit of silver and have that on hand in case, you know, of emergencies, in case the dollar goes to, you know, in case your buying power of the dollar drops suddenly and a loaf of bread is $100 or $1,000. That's what can happen in the case of hyperinflation. And if we get to the point where a loaf of bread is $1,000 and you're holding silver, and that silver coin that you bought today is for $25 is worth $1,000, then at that point you might be able to give that silver coin for a loaf of bread and actually be able to feed your family. So it's a good idea to hold a little bit of silver of some kind. It's a very good idea to own a gun and ammunition and be able to protect yourself, your family, from bad actors who would take your silver, take your Bitcoin, take your lives, take the loaf of bread that you bought, if they're desperate enough. And also to protect yourself against the giant government and corporations who I think are going to mandate that you take a chip that controls all of your finances for the rest of your life. I think that is their goal. They've already got the patent for it. So as crazy of a conspiracy theory as some people think that is, they've already got the patent for it. And generally, when you get the patent for something, it means you're intending on building it eventually. So anyway, Internet fam, a little bit of a gloomy topic to talk about when we're looking at a Bitcoin that right now is at almost 28. It's almost at $27,000. So, yeah, there it is. There's Bitcoin, 26,732 as of right now. There it is. I mean, that's a huge amount for Bitcoin. That's all-time high and then some. So exciting times to be into crypto. But again, why we're here, how we got here, and whether we can use any of the previous models to predict where we're going, I really don't think we can. We are not on a part of the chart where you can look at the RSI, you can look at the gains, you can look at the highs and lows and make any kind of reasonable prediction anymore. We are in a whole new phase of price discovery in the cryptocurrency market. So do what you can to protect yourselves and your family. Get healthy, grow vegetables, all that kind of stuff. All the kind of stuff that Mormons and preppers have been doing for years. It's time for all of us to be doing that. You can move to the country, even better. Move to the country, grow a garden, own a gun. You can definitely protect your family a lot better out there than you're going to be able to if you're living in the city. And a loaf of bread goes to $1,000 and nobody's got any money because they got no job because the entire economy has been shut down by unconstitutional and immoral edicts by your state and federal government. I can see a scenario playing out where you're going to want to be out in the country growing your own food and have some guns, ammo, silver, and crypto on hand on devices that you own and protect yourself because it's on open source hardware, etc. So, all right, Internet fam, that's my advice for the year 2020 going into the year 2021. If you've got comments, questions, concerns, ideas, if you want to say anything to me at all, you can leave comments below. I never censor anybody. I'm always open to have the discussion. I like a lively debate. If you think I'm crazy, let's talk about it. I think I heard other people making these predictions a couple of years ago and I thought they were crazy, but now I see it all unfolding and I'm like, they were right. They were right after all. I mean, I felt that way about a bunch of conspiracy theories. I thought most of them were crazy. And now I think almost, the bulk of them seem to be true based on my own research after years of looking into it. So, yeah. All right. I hope you guys all had a great holiday season. I hope you got to see your family, give them hugs and kisses and presents like regular human beings. I hope you did not listen to the government edicts to force you to stay home and wear a mask, and not see your loved ones and not go out to eat and support local small businesses. I hope that all of you are violating all of those edicts. If you run the small business, open it up. We do not want to leave a world behind for our children where people like Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci can dictate every aspect of our lives and control every financial activity that we ever do. We don't want to leave that world behind for our children. So we need to fight now. We all need to fight now. It's our responsibility to fight now for our children, for our nieces and nephews, for our nieces and nephews' children, just for humanity in general. And the way to fight is to just opt out. Stop complying. Don't comply with any government orders ever, unless it's one you agree with. I happen to agree with don't kill people, don't drive 100 miles an hour in a city zone. There's a few government edicts I agree with, not many, but some. And refuse to comply and really take responsibility for your own infrastructure. Make sure you've got a clean source of water, clean source of food, a way to protect all that, and protect all that for yourselves, your family, your extended family, your neighbors, etc. That's where we're at. We've got to get back to the basics of what it takes to be a human being, how to survive as a human being, and who's in control. And we need to be in control. We need to be in control of everything. Not the government, not corporations, not any of the bad actors who seem to be running the government and corporations, and especially the corporate media, which is really the real problem. This video will likely be censored, likely be shadow banned. I'm going to post it everywhere. Share it, copy it, repost it on your own channel. You're welcome to do all of that. Anyway, happy holidays from the O'Drennan household to your household. Love you all, and be safe and live your lives. Part of being safe is mental health, and mental health means sharing important times with family and friends, playing live music, going to public places and sharing a drink in camaraderie with your fellow man or woman. And they've been trying to deny us all of that for the last year now. Since March of 2020, they've been trying to deny all of us all of those mental health assets that are absolutely essential. And I say, do not comply. Go live your lives. Is the virus real? Yes. Are people dying? Yes. Is that going to stop? No. Is wearing the mask or staying home even going to slow it down much? No. Can't stop a coronavirus. Likely man-made, man-released, government-backed coronavirus, by the way. This one. But I don't think that staying home and wearing a mask are going to do anything to prevent the spread of COVID. I think the spread is here. We have to live with it now. It's inevitable. Our best bet is to try to take care of ourselves, our families, and sit back and wait for herd immunity, and wish the dearly departed who die from this so long. Which, by the way, is a very, very small number still. Very, very few people are dying of COVID. Much less people than are going to be dying of unemployment, hyperinflation, government-backed violence, whether it's war, insurrection, etc. So don't live your life in fear. Live your life in hope. Hope for your children, hope for your grandchildren, hope for your nieces and nephews. But use that hope to fuel your own responsibility to really try and take control of the infrastructure that you need to ensure their survivability, their happiness, and your own. All right. Love you all, Internet fam. Have a great day.